Good evening, all. My name is Madeline Fuso, and I am the Dean of the USC School of Theater, and I am most pleased to welcome you this evening to the Visions and Voices event, The Theater of Language, and to introduce two wonderful artists to you. But first, I want to begin by thanking Dean Wilson and the Annenberg School for Communications for letting us use this beautiful room. John Lithgow is probably best known for his starring role as Dick Solomon in TV's comedy Third Rock from the Sun. He is also a highly honored stage and film actor who has been nominated for just about every acting award there is. In addition to his 3 Emmy Awards, he has also been awarded 2 Tonys, theater's highest honor, once for a dramatic performance and once for a performance in a musical, an achievement few actors can claim. His stage and film credits are extensive and include The World According to Garp, Terms of Endearment, and Shrek in film, and The Changing Room, Sweet Smell of Success, and M. Butterfly on Broadway. Mr. Lithgow has also created many books and music albums for children, and his anthology, The Poet's Corner, the one and only poetry book for the whole family, has just recently been published. Now, all of what I just told you, you can find out by Googling him. What you cannot learn from Wikipedia or other sources, including your program, is what I'm about to tell you. There's no kinder, more modest, more generous actor working in America today. John is an incredible gentleman, smart and gracious with a terrific sense of humor. He is such a nice guy that no one envies him his numerous successes. And in our profession, that's really saying something. Carol Muske-Dukes is an accomplished, acclaimed, and award-winning writer. Poems, novels, essays, she excels at them all. She has authored 7 books of poetry, among them Sparrow and An Octave Above Thunder, 4 novels, her most recent is Channeling Mark Twain, a collection of essays entitled Married to the Ice Pick Killer, a Poet in Hollywood, and a collection of reviews and criticism. Additionally, she is a regular critic for the New York and the LA Times book review sections. She is also professor of English and creative writing here at USC and the founding director of the PhD program in literature and creative writing. My guess is that she doesn't sleep very much. Carol is also wicked smart, funny, deeply committed to excellence in all matters, and the very proud mother of Annie Muske-Dukes. There's someone else that I would like to introduce to you tonight, someone who is here but not here, and that is my dear friend and Carol's late husband, the wonderful actor David Dukes. David was a lover of language and poetry. I think that was what most bound him to being an actor, and why even though he had considerable success in TV and film, he continued to return to the stage where he could explore, embody, and illuminate the words of great writers. David is responsible for the 3 of us, Carol, John, and myself, knowing each other. I first met David when we were just starting our careers in theater, and we stayed friends over the ensuing decades. Through him, I got to know Carol before I came to USC. And it was David's respect for John and John's clear affection for David that has always made me feel that I know John much better than I actually do. So here they are, 2 people who are present in the flesh and one in spirit and in memory. I cannot think of any 3 people that I would rather spend an evening with, and I'm sure at the end of this evening you will understand why. So please now welcome Carol and John and have a good time.
Hello, John.
Hello, Carol.
Well, that was a beautiful introduction by Madeline.
Thank you,
I wanted to thank her, too, and also say that just as a quick little opener, I'd like to pick up on something she mentioned, which is that David, my late husband, and John's friend, and Madeline's friend, loved poetry as John does, and really was trained as an actor on words. That words were really the key to training, and times have changed a bit, I think, but the classically trained actor was one who cared deeply about language. And I think that John's love of poetry obviously is reflected in this wonderful anthology called Poets' Corner that we'll be reading and reciting from tonight. And just in his general approach to acting, the love of poetry and words. By the way, we're going to be reading from and sort of using as a text three books tonight: John's Poets' Corner, his new anthology, and my own collection of poems, Sparrow, and reading a little bit from channeling Mark Twain, a novel of mine.
Yes, I join Madeline and Carol in welcoming you all. Carol and I are really good friends. So we see this as a sort of friendly evening, really just a conversation with all of you about something that we love in different ways. Lots of poems. We've had a wonderful time assembling these poems. It's kind of like going to a candy store. And we're just going to read quite informally and I guess give a little bit of context and explain reasons for choosing these various poems as we go. But it's just a love fest. It's our, you know.
It's a poetry hoedown.
It's a poetry. It's not a slam. It's just
not a
slam.
Sort
of, it's just a sort of affectionate evocation of poems we love. And in the case of Carol's poems, poems that intensely mean a lot to both of us, as you will see. I have the job of starting things off, and I'm going to start off with a poem that isn't in this anthology, but I refer to it in an introduction. And its context is, it's one of the very first poems that I really connected to when I was a little boy. It's The Wonderful One-Hoss Shay by Oliver Wendell Holmes. This poem was recited to me by heart by my beloved grandmother when I was a little boy. She grew up on Nantucket in an era when poems were memorized and recited by children all the time. It was a part of their upbringing. It was a part of their education. And she would recite this poem incredibly in her 80s to all of us kids, a poem that she had learned as a girl on Nantucket. It's a poem about, you probably know it, a lot of you. It's a familiar old chestnut. It's a kind of American primitive. As I was saying to Carol, this poem is to poetry what Grandma Moses is to painting. But I love it, and it's about a deluxe horse-drawn carriage made of all the best materials, which nothing goes wrong with it until exactly the date and hour and minute it turns 100 years old, and then it flies into 1,000,000 pieces. And as I describe in my introduction, it just may have been my first little poetic insight as a 7-year-old boy. I must have known that I would lose my Grammy soon, but surely I could never imagine that her razor-sharp mind would ever fail her till the very end. Maybe I even discovered metaphor as a little boy. My Grammy was the wonderful one-hoss shay.